Well, now, what's going on, everybody? We've been in here chatting with everybody for a little while in the YouTube chat. So I know some of you are a little confused, trying to figure out, how to get in the draft. The draft is supposedly full. Hopefully, everyone shows up for it. We sent out an email. By the way, hi, I'm Bob Harris, senior editor, footballdiehards.com, a website of some renown, where many of you are subscribers. If you are a subscriber, you probably got an email through the site, giving you an opportunity to sign up for the mock. From what I told, it filled up quickly. Hoping everyone shows up. That makes these drafts work a lot better. 1 minute timer, PPR league. If everyone in here is drafting or anyone in here drafting, don't worry about defenses or kickers. We're just trying to set some values. Like I said, it's never too early to draft. It's early, but never too early to draft. Hey, Dennis Bennett, how are you? Thanks for coming. Never too early to start planting flags and setting values and trying to figure things out. I've done a couple mock drafts already. 3 to be exact, or 1 is ongoing, so 2 and an ongoing, and some interesting things going on. So I'll be fascinated to see if some of these industry drafts tend to go a little differently than regular drafts. We'll see how this one plays out. Emil Kavlik's drafting. We've got 12 teams. It's a PPR. And again, everyone's allowed to draft whatever they want in terms of kickers and defense, but don't have to. We're just trying to, again, focus on the skill players here. For what I've seen in early drafts, has been most interesting in that wide receivers have gone crazy. In one draft that I was in ongoing industry mock with a bunch of heavy hitters in it who, kind of know what they're doing. It was I want to say there was 2 running backs in the first round. Maybe 3. Let me go look before I say something even more stupid than I already am. It was 1, 2, 3 running backs. It was Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley. Travis Kelce also went, so 4 non-wide receivers. That's quite a change from just a few years back, right? Where it was such a dominant role of such a dominant run of running backs. I think we're not going to see that as much this year. And so we'll see how this one plays out. Maybe it'll go a little different than a industry draft. And I know, again, some of you have mentioned that you didn't see the link or would like links. If you're regulars in here, I'll start looking for you on Twitter in some of these drafts and get you some links in advance. So you can get in before the crowd gets in. So we like to get the regulars in there, give you all a chance to participate. You've been here and, been loyal viewers and listeners to the YouTube channel, so we appreciate that. By the way, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, you can do that now. Just hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you like it. You can hit the dislike button if you don't like me. I'm fine with that. You can't see all the drafts on YouTube. People put a link up to the draft board that you can follow along on Sleeper. If people are chatting in the Sleeper draft, I believe Emil will give me some of their comments. I can't see those because I'm looking at the YouTube draft. So if you have questions, comments as the draft rolls on, we'll be starting it shortly here. I don't know how many people we're waiting for, Emil, but whenever we're ready, we're ready. By the way, some coaches got hired this week. Also, there was a Super Bowl. I heard it was fantastic if you like holding calls. Look, I don't care, right? Doesn't bother me one way or the other. I'm not a fan of either team. I'm not a fan of any team. You all know that. I hate them all equally. But I didn't think it was that egregious. I mean, do I wish they had not called the holding penalty on James Bradbury? Yes, I wish they hadn't called it. That they called it, is it a huge issue for me? Does it make me think the NFL's rigged or some shenanigans were going on? No, it makes me think none of those things. It makes me think they made a call they shouldn't have made. Or I wish they wouldn't have made. They should have called it, right? They should call it every time if they're going to call it. I don't know if the ball was catchable. I don't know if Juju would have made it to where the ball was going if he hadn't been held. But Bradbury acknowledged he held him. So, not the greatest way for an otherwise great game to finish, but still, it was a great game. And besides, I picked the Chiefs, so I don't care. That's horrible. Very selfish of me. Also had both coordinators. I survived Valentine's Day, Dennis Bennett. Right call, wrong time. There you have it, Matthew. Matthew Whitfield. By the way, Matthew, I will get you in these drafts as well if you're not careful. So be warned. But yeah, I think that's the perfect way to put it. Right call, wrong time. And I saw Juju put something out on Instagrams and the Twitters about, you hope somebody holds him on Valentine. I don't know. Had the James Bradbury picture. A.J. Brown, put him in his place. If it's the right call at the time, doesn't matter. Well, I think the letter of the law sometimes, there's some flexibility in there. I don't know. You know, definitely was a hold. He definitely held him. You know, was the ball catchable? You could make that debate if the referee or the official involved, wanted to not call. He could have argued himself into not calling it, I suppose. But they called it, and that's how the game ended. And look, he might have, hell, if he hadn't been held, maybe he would have caught it, and the game would have been over, right? So we don't know. But otherwise, it was a great game. I thought all the players I expected to do well did well, except Miles Sanders, who I didn't have that high of hopes on, but I think everyone else did. Right. And I thought the way the game played out kind of played out how I expected. I thought the Eagles were the better team. I think they were. But I thought the difference would come down to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I think Andy Reid was a huge difference maker in this game. Those 2 goal line plays. I mean, just masterful play calls. Jonathan Gannon, the new head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, by the way. Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator there. Gannon, the defensive coordinator. Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator, going to Indianapolis to head up the Colts. Where he has a pretty good track record of developing quarterbacks. Did great work with Justin Herbert in Los Angeles with the Chargers, and did a great job calling the offense the last half of this year and working with Jalen Hurts, right? So, you think if they're going to draft a young quarterback, which seems likely. I mean, it's been a rough road. I mean, that's been the problem for the Colts, right? Lack of quarterback, or a lack of high-end quarterback play. They've had quarterbacks, they just haven't played well. And it's gone back. I mean, Andrew Luck's surprise retirement crushed him. Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, none of them working. So, and seeing who Sirianni brings in to replace him, because remember, Sirianni was the play caller last year and early this year until he went with Steichen as play caller. So, and Steichen was, and the other thing about this that I like is, when you look at how they've achieved success, offenses have achieved success with Steichen at the helm. It's been both pass heavy. I think Justin Herbert's rookie year, they led the league in pass attempts, and the Chargers did. And then last year with the Eagles, they ran more than any other team. So he'll figure it out. He says he's going to throw to score and run to win. Makes perfect sense to me. And I wouldn't mind that. I hope an aggressive approach comes and makes the most use of guys like Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman. We'll see what the rookie quarterback they get can do. Well, they get Bryce Young. Jim Irsay talked about that and said it would be great for him. C.J. Stroud will be in that mix. Levis will be in that mix. So we'll see. Thomas, he wants to know why any team won't hire Eric Bieniemy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator. I don't know that any team won't hire him. He's had many runs at a head coach. There's been a lot of talk out there that he doesn't interview well, that doesn't come across well in interviews. I don't know. I'm not in the interview room, so I don't know what the problem is. There is some, history with him off the field, that I don't know that should be an issue, but maybe is. So I don't know. And I wonder why he would move on to be an offensive coordinator. Maybe the best spot for him is in Kansas City, where he could ultimately be a successor to Andy Reid. But who knows when that'll be? Because I don't know that, all the talk prior to the Super Bowl game, will Andy Reid retire? And, a lot of speculation. Hell, I was one of the speculators, right? Maybe Andy Reid, if they lose this game, maybe he just hangs it up. I kind of thought it was more likely if he won, he would hang it up, but I don't think he's going to hang it up. I don't think he had any intention of hanging it up. Anthony Richardson to Vegas. Richardson's an interesting character, right, everybody? I mean, that's a guy that we'll all kind of have an eye on, right? Kirby Barker throws that out there. Super athletic, kind of not a lot of starting experience at college level, but, big arm. Can he get it where he wants it? I think, didn't we say some of those same things about Josh Allen? Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn when he came in the league. Pretty accurate now, so I don't know. Matthew thinks Carr wouldn't be bad in Indy. I think Carr wouldn't be bad in a lot of spots. But I think that's the problem with Carr, is he wouldn't be bad. Would he be great? I'm not sure he would be great. Not sure he'd be great. Carr is not definitely out in New Orleans. So the thing with New Orleans was he visited New Orleans 2 days, spent 2 days there. But he had a no-trade clause in his contract, and it didn't behoove him to get traded. So the reason the Raiders wanted to trade him was because his contract came full, and he didn't. It looks like we'll be able to start the draft. And we're going to start the draft pretty soon. But he could have, so my thought was, if a deal could be struck, maybe they would strike a deal. But why would somebody want to pay the Raiders when they knew they were going to release Carr, and why would Carr want them to have to pay the Raiders when maybe they would be willing to pay him a little more if they weren't paying the Raiders anything? So I don't know. I thought that was the whole dynamic there. It made perfect sense. But Carr is not out in New Orleans. I think he's probably still the favorite in New Orleans. The Panthers have been mentioned as well. And we'll see if some of these other teams get in. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be in the mix out there as well. Aaron Rodgers. Maybe teams wait to see when Aaron Rodgers comes out of his darkness retreat. Whenever that happens. I think that happens sometime. It's supposed to happen this week. He was a little upset on the Pat McAfee show yesterday that people said he was going to start his darkness retreat on Monday when he was not. It's been planned for 4 months, people. He was going to do it at some point. All right, Emil, go ahead and crank up the draft. There sounds like 4 drafters aren't there, which is very irritating because there's 4 people here that were really willing. Why did you sign up for the draft and not show up, people? What's the matter with them? I know our YouTubers would all be in there. Ugh, hate people. Anyway, I don't hate them. I'm just being a jerk. Okay, so we're going to start up the draft. There'll be some auto picks. That's okay. We'll be able to analyze, get your comments, be interested to hear your takes on some of the values we're seeing and what you think. Do you agree with the values you're seeing? Do you agree with the prices people are paying? Do you think players are going too early, too late? I mean, I've noticed some players, in the early mocks I've been in where I'm going, I'm not so sure. I've also noticed some players where I'm drafting them, I'm going, I'm not so sure. One of those players that I'm I think I'm a little more aggressive on. And if you've missed the videos of our top 12, then I did another video of my next group, my next tier, 13 through 24. I have Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think a little higher than the Fantasy Pros expert consensus rankings. And I'm kind of high on him. Look, he's got as many passes over the last 2 years as anyone in the football. He's very good. Will Jameson Williams limit his role? I don't know if he'll limit it. Maybe he'll enhance it. Right? This is a great setup. The Detroit Lions, I mean, you don't have to like the Detroit Lions to say, okay, they got something going on. Great offensive line, solid enough quarterback, some good playmakers on the outside. I know they don't have a tight end. Maybe they'll get one. Interesting thing about those tight ends, right? Eckler with the 1-1. And not surprised there. Hopefully that comes up in the display here shortly. And so I don't think, I wish they'd find a running back. Interesting that they could not, so TJ Hawkinson, great tight end in Detroit, right? Before they traded him, he had 3 touchdowns. They trade him, and then 3 guys that nobody ever heard of scored 9 touchdowns together. Crazy. Go figure. So I don't see the picks coming up on display, but Emil is putting them into the chat. So Austin Eckler with the 1-1. Hopefully we'll get the board here working very soon, or it'll catch up with us. Or maybe not. We'll figure it out. We'll figure something out. Christian McCaffrey, number 2. So where's everyone at? I'm McCaffrey 1 and Eckler 2. My early rankings, if you went and watched that first video, the top 12, pretty simple. McCaffrey 1, Eckler 2. I think you could make an argument for either of them, although I have concerns with Eckler's touchdown regression. Austin Eckler had no concerns with touchdown regression last year, was having nothing to do with that nonsense. Matthew would go number 1 as well. I think there's a really good argument to be made for that. Let's see. Looks like we're... All right, so we're getting the start of it. It's just not displaying on our YouTube channel, which is not helpful. But Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, and CeeDee Lamb at pick 6, which that one surprises me a little bit, but it's very close to my top 6. My top 6 would be Travis Kelce in there instead of CeeDee Lamb. And I talked about it in that initial top 12 video. See what you guys think. So Emil's putting in a link to the draft board. I guess I can watch along with that and try and get back to the comments here on occasion. So Travis Kelce went number 8 overall. Jonathan Taylor, number 7 overall. All right. So this is falling into line. I'm not quite as high on Jonathan Taylor. So if you want to hit that link, you can go watch the live draft board and watch it in progress and maybe listen to me while you watch it. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'll be looking for your comments here, and we'll get this all sorted out going forward. It's a first mock draft, people. Wasn't going to be perfect. But I thought so I talked about it in my top 12 video, right? So when I looked at my top 6 players, and it was I think it's a good list. Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Cooper Kupp, Travis Kelce, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase at number 6. I think of those players, if I draft in 100 best balls or 1,000 best balls, it'll be somewhere in between there, and I have 6 first picks overall, I'll have one of those guys in all those spots, right? I think all of them, I can make an argument for Travis Kelce giving you the leverage over the field that you're looking for that merits his selection at 1 overall if you want to get him, because you're not getting him. If you have that first pick overall, that's the only place you're going to get Travis Kelce. He's not going to be waiting for you at the turn. I like Cooper Kupp a little bit more. I'll make him my first pick overall. Austin Eckler, all those guys, right? That whole group of guys, I think in that range seems fine. So Matthew Whitfield can see it. So we can follow along on the Sleeper app if you can. And if you want to just listen in to me on the side, keep your speakers on or your headphones in. I'm sure that'll work out for you. That's how I'm going to do it. I'll come back here and check for comments. But I would like you to chime in on some of these picks and where you like them or don't like them, the ones that you like the best. We've got Stephon Diggs going at number 9 overall. So first round, Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, almost all in my top 6. Every one of those guys. CeeDee Lamb is the interesting one. Look, Lamb was pretty strong last year. I mean, could you expect him to rise? I would take Diggs over him. I would take players not yet named. I don't want to be throwing out names of players who aren't picked yet. By the way, we've only got 3 auto drafters, so that helps. I bite kneecaps. Nice one. Oh, Dennis Bennett is in this draft. I see you in there, Dennis. Get on it, buddy. And I see Brian Wright is in there, I'm betting. Is that you, Brian? Are you in this draft? I think Lamb is too high. Is that you? Is that you in there, Brian Wright? Are you in that draft, damn you? All right. I bet it is. All right. Great stuff. I wouldn't have taken Lamb at 6. I think that's too high for me as well. And maybe I'm too low on him. I have CeeDee Lamb listed as my ranked 14th overall. Also have Jonathan Taylor outside my top 12, by the way. And I think that's a debatable one. My top running backs are Christian McCaffrey 1, Austin Eckler 2. I have Saquon Barkley at 7, Derrick Henry at 8, and Josh Jacobs at 11. Then I have Jonathan Taylor at 13. So right outside, I think any of those guys could be top picks. I don't know. Lamb is a glorified slot guy. He's going to be really busy. I'd like to see them add some more speed. And maybe Michael Gallup comes around. Does anyone have any? Oh, there's Metalhead. Are you drafting right now, Brian? Is that you in the draft that I see? The team called Heavy Metal. James Furry in line with that, 14. I think that's fair. Look, there were people, you saw him last year, CeeDee Lamb, going up as high as wide receiver 4. There are some picks here that I'm a little surprised guys haven't gone yet. Devontae Adams made it to 12, so let's fill out this first round. Eckler, McCaffrey, Jefferson, Kupp, Chase, Lamb. There's your first 6. Second 6, Jonathan Taylor, the 3rd running back off the board, ahead of Derrick Henry, who came off. But Travis Kelce, 8. Stephon Diggs, 9. Derrick Henry, 10. A.J. Brown, 11. Devontae Adams, 12. I'm a little surprised at Brown over Adams, but we don't know Adams' quarterback yet, so I guess that's okay. Tyreek Hill, last year's wide receiver 2. T. Higgins, that seems a little high, Dennis. I want to hear about that. Dalvin Cook, coming off surgery, auto-picked. Okay, fair enough. Saquon Barkley, great value for Emil Cadlick. Bijan Robinson, Slugger 999, going for the rookies. Early, Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs, and Najee Harris. So, interesting start. We've got 11 now. Kenneth Walker goes off. We've got 11 running backs off the board in the first 20 picks, first 21 picks. This is running back heavier than any of the drafts I've seen so far. There you are. I see you, Brian. So, didn't like any of the RBs at 202. I got it. I gambled the quarterback issue might get me Adams. Understandable. We all take chances in drafts, right? Like we tell ourselves these stories as we're waiting for our picks, and we have the player we have in mind, or the pieces we have in mind, or the range of guys we want to have in mind, and then it all falls apart, and you've got to make a hard decision in a fast moment. I do this a lot. It's not my best, usually not my best moments, usually not my best picks. Also in drafts, something I'm really finding early, and you might have heard me say this either on the radio. By the way, if you don't listen, you should listen to the Football Diehards on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. I'm told it's a very popular show with the kids and the grown-ups alike. They all love it. And we did a mock draft Monday night with the host. It was a 10-teamer. Mike Dempsey, myself, the great Eric Romoff, and the great Jamie Calandro did one of our great mock drafts we do, and we'll be doing those on the show. We're switching to Saturdays only starting next week. That's kind of the off-season mode for a little while until we get into April, the pre-draft. But we'll be doing some mock drafts, simulation Saturdays, we'll call them, where we do some of those same drafts. Guessing the number one drafter is auto picking. Let me look at that. Yeah, number one is auto picking. Although, like Josh Allen going that early, I mean, if you were picking on the end, either end, and you want Josh Allen, you would have to get him at this turn, or you're not going to get him, right? He's going to go somewhere in round 3 based on every draft I've seen. So I think that's a defensible pick if you want him. The Ezekiel Elliott, maybe not so much. We're getting down to the tail end running back ones here. I don't know that he's there. I think in most drafts, Tony Pollard is going ahead of him. So that makes a little sense. I know that next time we do this and we get all the YouTubers in there will be no auto picking. That's for sure. So again, we're guessing number one. Yes, I think you will see the run in second for RBs a lot in drafts next year. I think I've already seen it a little bit, but some of it I've seen waiting all the way until like the third round for the run on running backs. James Furry would have taken Barkley and Jacobs ahead of Harris. I would have as well. I don't know if Jaylen Warren will cut into Harris's carries, but I need the offense to get better. David D, thank you for your kind words. You got you into the finals. I was just here confirming what you already knew. Look, Zeke happens in the auto pick. You can't, that's how it is. It's where he's ranked. None of us would pick him there. So we'll work around that anomaly. Nick Chubb, I think, will go ahead of some of the players. I mean, for my rankings, Chubb will go ahead of Etienne, go ahead of Harris, go ahead of Mixon. Mixon has kind of an uncertain future. We'll go ahead of Dalvin Cook. Brad 19767, starting out with a traditional approach, the heavy running back, Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook. We've got the teams with 3. Let's look at some of these builds already. We'll throw out Matt 8282. Matt, where are you, auto picker? But Georgia Bulldog with the second pick overall. Christian McCaffrey, Jalen Waddle, Nick Chubb. I like that start. I like it. Jalen Waddle is your wide receiver 1, though. Is that a concern? Would that be worrisome to you? I mean, I'm all in on Tyreek Hill. I think Tua Tagovailoa is going to be just fine. Here we got the display up on the screen. Look at this, very nice. Oh, this is very nice. I don't know what draft this is. This is draft. Oh, this is very nice. All right, we're starting to see it here, Emil, on the YouTube screen, so that's helpful. Hold on a second. Getting caught up here. Samuel, Pierce, Brown, Mahomes. All right. That works. Now we're seeing it in real time. So Brian Wright is saying ETN's got to catch at least. Totally agree with that. This is an issue for me. And Matthew Whitfield wouldn't touch Tua at all. We'll talk about this. I'm not against Tua, as much, right? Like I think seems like the Dolphins are all in on him. I would be drafting him as a quarterback 2 with great upside. You're going to get quarterback 1 numbers at a cheap price. I'd be fine with that. But, maybe you have to draft a third quarterback. Either way, I think the concern for me is with the wide receivers. If you want to draft Tyreek Hill, he seemed pretty quarterback proof last year. Again, finished as wide receiver 2, playing with a mixture of Tua, Skylar Thompson. Maybe Skylar Thompson gets better. Maybe they have a lot of faith in him. It's entirely possible. But anyway, I think Waddle is the guy that worries me a little bit if we're dealing with the wide receivers there. So I'd be a little worried about him as my wide receiver 1. Might want to go a different direction there. But I can think of worse things that have happened to me than that, honestly. I mean, Waddle still caught 75 catches last year. Seems perfectly suitable. So let's run through the 4 quarterbacks now gone. Justin Herbert, I bite kneecaps. If you're in the YouTube, chime in. Are you expecting a big rebound? We have a change of offensive coordinators there. Kellen Moore goes from Dallas to what's Brian Wright think about that? The move at Dallas. Getting back to Brian's comment on ETN, he's got to catch at least 65 balls this year. I wonder if he will. We'll see if Calvin Ridley, put in for reinstatement today. I'm guessing he'll get reinstated. Makes perfect sense as we're working through some of the glitches here to see if we can't get the display up proper like. We're close. Um, so we'll see if Calvin Ridley likely back. See if they keep Evan Ingram. Christian Kirk will still be there. Zay Jones will still be there. I don't know if we'll see Marvin Jones. I don't know if Marvin Jones will be around. But either way, so I don't know if ETN is going to get that role. And I think a lot of our expectations for ETN as a receiver were based on the previous regime of very unpopular people led by Urban Meyer, who drafted him as a more of an offensive weapon than a running back, right? That was kind of the way they sold him. Look, I thought he was a very good running back last year, right? Just as a runner, I thought he looked great. He has good breakaway threat. I think he had, 9 runs of over 25 yards, so there's something to hang your hat on there. But I'm with you, Brian. I would like to see him be way more involved in the passing attack. And if he is, he's going to be a great value. Even if he, at the price he went here, I want to say late second round, I think that would be a pretty decent price. What was he? Running back number what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Running back 11. That's pretty good. Again, Ezekiel Elliott. Nick Chubb surprised me. He was very busy. Dameon Pierce, a little earlier than I've seen him go. Freddie All-Star, perfectly defendable pick. St. Brown going a little later than I would let him go. I've seen Amon-Ra St. Brown in the drafts I've been in has gone in the 13th spot. Once to me, once to somebody else. So I'm not the only one who loves him that much, but I don't think most of the world doesn't. Way too risky, says Matthew Whitfield of Tua, maybe as a backup. I think that's what you'd want to draft him as, right? Your quarterback 2 with huge upside. Why does he have huge upside? Because he plays in a great offense and it's got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in it. It's that simple. I mean, there's some upside to that. Maybe you want to get a steady Eddie before and after him, right? And again, I think there's times where you want to go with three quarterbacks. You're just going to have to, especially in best ball. We didn't define this as a best ball. This is just an early draft, but I think most of us are in best ball mode when we're drafting these early, way too early drafts. And just to get back to something I talked about before, I think this is part of the process, right? I want to start drafting as early as I can, doing as many mocks as I can. And I don't do mocks anymore. I do best balls instead of mocks. I would recommend that to everybody. Why? Especially like in best ball 10s or underdog. There's a little money in it. Invest, if you want to do 10 over the course of the next couple months. I'm going to probably do more than 10 for sure over the next couple months. I'll do a lot. But, and I talked to Jordan Fiegelman, who works with Matthew Berry's site a couple nights ago. He'll do like 900 to 1,000 of these, right? And I mean, but I think the point is getting yourself comfortable enough drafting so it's almost second nature. So like when you're in a draft, by the time August rolls around, the drafts are really meaningful for you. David D, maybe not Kelsey, because that drafter is not in a tight end league. Just guessing. I would draft the hell out of Kelsey. I would take Kelsey first overall. Who in this chat would not take Travis Kelsey first overall ever under any circumstances? Right? Like, that's just crazy. Who would not take him in the first round? Anyone in the chat not taking Travis Kelsey if he falls to you in the first round? Let's say the second half of the first round. Maybe I'm crazy that I'll take him in the first half, and I totally will. Again, I'm looking for leverage over the field. But this is the part of the process of all this, right? Is figuring out not as much as who you want, but when you can get who you want. I think the more you draft, the better you get a feel for that, right? So you go in and you've done 50 drafts by the time August hits. For some of us, it'll be more. Some of us, it'll be way more. And it's almost like second nature. You get into that 5th, 6th, 7th round, you're going, okay, I want this guy. I know he'll probably be there at a certain time, right? And you can jump and maybe, get a little ahead of the curve. Going back into this draft, getting you caught up with some of the rounds if you can't see all the picks in the YouTube. I want to look at some of the teams that aren't auto-picking. Georgia Bulldog, McCaffrey, Waddle, and Hopkins are his wide receivers. McCaffrey and Chubb, his running backs. Justin Fields, his quarterback. Oh, that's pretty good value, I think, on Justin Fields after Lamar Jackson. A little uncertainty for Lamar Jackson. Think he'll play with Baltimore. Wonder if he'll be there for the whole offseason program. Heavy metal, Brian Wright going with Justin Jefferson, Travis Etienne, Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, Tony Pollard. That's a hell of a start, Brian. Freddie's all-star there. Cooper Kupp, I love him. He's my top wide receiver on the board. Look, you can make an argument for Jefferson, Cup, or Chase. I think is the top wide receiver this year. I'm going with Cup, so I like that pick. Kenneth Walker and Damian Pierce, super solid running back tandem. Lamar Jackson, we know the upside. Haven't seen it all the way. Amari Cooper is starting to look more and more like a value to me in all these drafts. Hoping that Deshaun Watson picks up the pace a little bit for him. Nice start there, so a good, even, balanced approach. Jeffrey looks like a little bit of an old school drafter to me. Jamar Chase goes wide receiver early, follows it up with Najee Harris. Amon-Ra St. Brown for me. He's the steal of the draft so far. Love that value. Ramondre Stevenson, I think everyone has high hopes for him. See him ranked very highly in the Fantasy Pros consensus rankings. Alvin Kamara, look, this will be a great pick if Alvin Kamara avoids legal punishment, right, for his off-field issues last Pro Bowl. Sounds like that's coming. His the trial's on point, and or at least on schedule. There was a hearing on January 23rd, and it's moving forward. So assuming he gets convicted of some charge, he will miss some time. Catchow, 77, CeeDee Lamb. I thought it was a little early, but again, a defensible pick. Josh Jacobs, I like him as a first-round pick to me. I think that's great value. Patrick Mahomes, nobody's arguing Patrick Mahomes in round 3. TJ Hawkinson, I'm not arguing TJ Hawkinson is tight end 3. Came after Mark Andrews a full round almost. I think that's great value. We'll talk about Mark Andrews. Michael Pittman and Tyler Lockett. Great start, Catchow. Nick Andros, 251. Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, the heavy running back start. Keenan Allen, will he remain a Charger? We'll see. Joe Burrow, great play. George Kittle, if Brock Purdy's playing, I'm all about Kittle. And James Conner, another great value. Slugger, 999. Travis Kelce. I'm okay with this pick, people. Bijan Robinson, like that, little edge to it. Now he dives into that pool of young wide receivers. I like this team a lot, too. We'll see what he does at running back. But Devontae Smith is his wide receiver 1 in the middle of the 3rd round. I'm all about that. Garrett Wilson as his wide receiver 2 in round 4. All right. Chris Olave, Drake London. Nicely done, Slugger. Emil Cadlet going with Stephon Diggs. Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts. Terry McLaurin, Dalton Schultz, and Cam Akers, who I think is a little bit of a value. Based on the finish of the year, he looks like the guy, right? Auto-pick Brad. I don't mind his draft. I just wish it wasn't auto-picked. Culture coach, our friend Dennis Bennett. You know him from Dynasty Nerds. He does great stuff from all our magazines. A.J. Brown, T. Higgins. I want to know about that T. Higgins pick, Dennis. Breece Hall. I love Breece Hall. I have concerns based on what we saw from the slow returns of J.K. Dobbins and his teammate Gus Edwards this year. But again, Breece Hall was on fire when he played. Kyle Pitts. Does the talent finally win out, Dennis? Is this the year? Jerry Jeudy, great pick. J.K. Dobbins, I think a solid pick here. And then I bite kneecaps. Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Javonte Williams, another guy. Breece Hall and Williams both coming off ACLs. Williams a little more complicated than just an ACL. Justin Herbert, a little aggressive pick there. David Montgomery, hopefully still a Bear, but maybe not. Mike Williams. Interesting starts. For all these teams, I don't see anything crazy out of line here. I mean, I see some things I wouldn't do. I see some things I would be more aggressive on, things I might be dialed back on a little bit. Let's look. I'll catch up on the comments here. Maybe not Kelsey. I'm with you on Kelsey. Brian Wright is there. Andrea is in on Kelsey. Dennis Bennett likes picks to bounce back, and he wanted on one of the top 4 tight ends. Don't think he would have made it back. Fair enough. Brian Wright almost took St. Brown over Metcalf. I think I would right now. Someone working on getting the picks displayed on the board. There is a link in here that has the full board if you want to see it. Emil, if you could put that back in the chat here. We do have the full board available. But yeah, we'll have this fixed dialed in next draft. It's got to get used to the technology every year. Let's just, so you can click on the link there and get the full board if you'd like, and I'll try and keep you caught up as much as I can. Oh no, Brian, I made you miss your pick. Who'd you get auto-picked, man? Who was it? Higgins and Chase both finished top 12. I think we had that conversation last year, and I think it was close. James Furry does not like Brad's team. Is Brad's team one of the ones that's auto-picking? Yeah, I think Brad is auto-picking. So I don't like his team either. And well, like Mark Andrews, I think is a very talented player. I'm worried about this. The injuries, you can't see those, James Furry. You can't see them. You don't know. I mean, there's players that are, that have to heal up. But I mean, Dalvin Cook's coming off surgery. Nobody else is hurt. You're all right, Dave. You're all right, Brian. I just want you to get the players you want. All right, David. I'm glad that worked for you. Really intrigued with what Todd Monken, the new offensive coordinator, does in Buffalo. Monken's had some great success. The Georgia Bulldogs thank him for his last 2 years of service. They've led the nation or been among the league leaders in offense. Runs a lot of 2 tight end sets, which would work out well with the personnel in Baltimore, right? We've got Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, probably the top 2 receiving threats on this team, barring Rashad Bateman's return to full health, and we'll have to see what he really is. But beyond that, they don't have a lot. Marcus Robinson, a free agent, could be moving on. This draft is moving along nicely here. Let's see where you're catching up here. Marquise Brown, Miles Sanders. Is that who you got auto pick, Brian? I mean, I can think of worse auto picks. Darren Waller in round 6. Is Darren Waller going to be a value this year, people? Wonder who the quarterback will be. Well, let's say Aaron Rodgers lands there. Is Darren Waller a value? What if Jimmy Garoppolo lands there? Is Darren Waller a value? I think this is working out well. Going back to something Dennis said about the Cincinnati wide receivers. Also possible. I don't think it'll happen this year, but also possible. They got to pay Joe Burrow. They got to pay Jesse Bates. They got to pay some people, right? What if T. Higgins turns out to be a guy who wants one of those big wide receiver contracts and they decide to trade him? And he ends up in another place, maybe even more beneficial situation for him. Could do better. But I think last year, Dennis, we were talking about T. Higgins and Jamar Chase both being in that top tier of wide receivers. How did it finish up? Higgins was wide receiver 19. So I think it's entirely possible. I don't think you're wrong. One of the things I noticed about the way that offense worked when Chase came back from injury was he turned into more of a possession receiver. Still capable of making big plays, but he was a target monster, right? I think his target share went up over 30% upon his return, and Higgins took a corresponding dip. So we'll see. And again, James, so Brad's team is mostly auto-picked. I'm just curious what you think about the injury situations, banking on Henry Cook and Aaron Jones and Canine Andrews. I mean, I'm kind of with you on some of this, but I don't see a lot of injuries. I see one injury, and he got surgery to fix it. And he should be fine by the start of the season. Goddard. There you go. All right, I see what happened. Yep, we had that discussion last year on the Higgins and Chase. My last 2 picks were auto wanted Goddard. All right, I see where you're at there. So would have taken Goddard. Okay, I hear you. Goddard instead of Marquise Brown. That works. Evan Ingram's a pretty good get, though. Brian, what do you think of that? Evan Ingram, super high-end tight end down the stretch last year. Let's see look at the numbers. There was a point. I want to say, let's say, look from weeks 12 on. Yeah, Evan Ingram was tight end 2 from weeks 12 on. And that includes a 1-point game and 2 other single-digit games. He had a really big run there, weeks, I want to say, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Didn't show up week 17, so that's a little disappointing. But interesting there. Are you okay with Evan Ingram? How do you feel when you see what the outcome is? Did it turn out a little better than maybe you expected when you got auto picked? So James Furry does not like so much the older backs, and I tend to be with you for the most part, right? I mean, Aaron Jones, will he remain a Green Bay Packer, and is his value dependent on that? I think to a degree. Is his value dependent on Aaron Rodgers being back? I think maybe to a degree. David D likes Team Jungle's building, but I do think Derrick Henry seems to be a unique character, right, in this. And 29 years old, obviously, at some point he's going to fall off the cliff. We just haven't seen signs of it. And I talk about all the you've heard me on these chats right here. And by the way, if you don't subscribe to this channel, you should subscribe now. It's fantastic. And we'll be doing more mock drafts, and we'll get our display set up a little better in the future. And we'll get some of you involved in the all the regulars in the YouTube. I'll make sure to get you in. And that's you, Andrea. Dennis is already in. Matthew will get you in. Brian, you're already in. So we'll get James, we'll get you in as well. So be patient. We'll be doing a lot of these over the course of the off season, and it'll be a good time. But I think on Henry, just you look at all the things that you don't like about him. He's older. His offensive line sucks. His passing attack around him is not great. All these things you could have said last year and the year before, and probably the year before. I mean, he was older then still, and he still keeps getting the job done. I will say this was the first year. Last season was the first year he showed signs of slowing down later in the season, or at least, I guess that's the thing. It's like relative. It's like government spending, right? I mean, when they say they're cutting spending, they're not cutting spending. They're just slowing the rate of growth, right? So this is the same thing with saying that Derrick Henry slowed down a little bit in the latter part of the year. He didn't slow down in general. He just slowed down in comparison to where he'd been in recent seasons. I think he's averaged 19 points a game, fantasy points a game, at least in each of the last 4 years. I don't see the signs of slowing down yet, but it could happen anytime. Again, he's 29 years old. When you talk to the beat writers, the people who cover this team every single day, they tell you he's a different kind of guy. Genes matter, and that his workouts are fantastic. So we'll see. I mean, he does a really unusual, an extensive workout regimen would be safe to say, right? So, and I know all these guys work out hard, and but clearly he does something really good. I thought we might see a little bit of a downturn in the big play ability of his, that breakaway speed. Didn't see that either. So I don't know. We'll see about Derrick Henry. I do like him about this range that he went in this draft. Brian Wright, not quite so sure about Akers as a running back 2. I like him as a running back 3 myself, but I think that's a pretty fair price for him in what was it, round 6. Had a great finish to the season. I don't see anyone, I mean, could they draft somebody in Los Angeles? Maybe. I mean, but there's nobody else there. I think we all figured out Kyron Walker. That guy is not great, right? The rookie out of Notre Dame. Just we kept expecting him to show up, and he never showed up. And that's sad. Makes me unhappy. Kyron Williams is what I want to say, not Walker. I'm mixing up my Kyron with my Kenneth, and that's not good. All right, let's take a quick review of some of these teams. If you missed it in the chat, maybe Emo, you could put it in the chat again. So if anyone's just showing up, they can catch up with the full draft board on Sleeper where everyone's drafting. And so Georgia Bulldogs, McCaffrey, Waddle, Chubb through the first 3 rounds. DeAndre Hopkins. Throw in the chat what you think about Hopkins. We don't know where he'll be playing. Will he be a Cardinal? Sounds like he'll be moving on, most likely. Where would you like to see him land if he does move on? Justin Fields, I thought was a great value as quarterback 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's all right for me. Pat Freiermuth, pretty solid tight end play. I think he's inside that top 10. Isaiah Pacheco, how confident are we Isaiah Pacheco will be the man next year? I mean, I'm relatively confident, but am I totally confident? I don't know. Brandon Cooks, the under-the-radar guy right here in round 8. It's going to be a wide receiver 1 if he remains in Houston and can be pretty productive there. We don't know what the quarterback situation is going to look like, but it hasn't always mattered, right? He's been fairly quarterback-proof there. Cordero Patterson, I think in round 9, that's not unreasonable. Where did Algier go? Ooh, all the way in 8. That's a long stretch. I haven't seen Algier go earlier in most drafts. Brian Wright's team, heavy metal, Justin Jefferson, Travis Etienne, Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, Tony Pollard, Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, I hope you go somewhere where they love you more than the Eagles love you. Right. Marquise Brown, Evan Ingram, Kirk Cousins, Dallas Cowboys defense. That's not shocking. Freddie All-Star, Cooper Kupp, Kenneth Walker, Damian Pierce, Lamar Jackson. Still trying to get a handle. We'll talk about Jackson here in a minute. Amari Cooper, Darren Waller, Cortland Sutton. Interesting value there in round 7. Can the Denver offense rebound under Sean Payton? Deshaun Watson, a little early for the second quarterback for me when I have Lamar Jackson, but I get it if you have concerns that maybe Jackson's going to not sign his tender early, or there's going to be some contentious issues. Rookie running back. Who is it? That's pretty early. That seems. Purdue Spawn. Seems a little early to me. We'll see. I'm not against taking rookies. Justin Tucker. Kicker. That's very early for a kicker. Jeffrey, 33.99. Jamar Chase, Najee Harris, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Boy, I like those first 3 picks. I'm not against Ramondre Stevenson or Alvin Kamara. A little concerned about the off-field. Look at how the mighty have fallen. Chris Godwin, round 6. Dallas Goedert, round 7. Brian Wright shaking his fist because he should have been his. Dak Prescott, George Pickens. Pickens or Johnson, people? Where are we at on this one in Steelers? Jahan Dotson. There's a value. We had Terry McLaurin going round 4. We have Jahan Dotson in round 10. There are people who will argue Jahan Dotson is going to be the 1B to McLaurin's 1A. We'll see about that. Catchow, 77. CeeDee Lamb, Josh Jacobs, Patrick Mahomes, TJ Hawkinson, Michael Pittman, TJ Lockett, Quentin Johnson, a rookie wide receiver off the board. Like it. Tyler Algier, great value. Gabe Davis. I'm not big on Gabe Davis, but I'm not bad on this price. Remember last year, Gabe Davis was going when? Round 3, 4? Come on now. Kadarius Toney, Jerick McKinnon. I think these are all reasonable ranges for these kind of players. Nick Andros, 251. Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, Keenan Allen, Joe Burrow, George Kittle, James Conner, Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen. We'll see about his future. Elijah Mitchell, Dawson Knox, Tom Brady. He's not going to play. He's not going to play. But it's late enough in an early draft. Slugger Knight, if you're in the chat, Nick, throw in your thoughts on Brady. Travis Kelce for Slugger 999, round 1.8. Bijan Robinson, the top rookie running back, maybe a generational play. Devontae Smith, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Drake London. I love that run. Trevor Lawrence. This is a great start to a draft. Jahmyr Gibbs, rookie running back, could be very good. Jameson Williams, the Lions running back. Khalil Herbert. I'm trying to think of this running back where he plays for. Zach Charbonnet, UCLA running back. Oh, yes. Okay. I've got to get up to speed on the rookie still, people. I'm working on this. I'm a work in progress on that. John Lobb will be here in the live stream soon to help rectify that. If you want to go to the website right now, footballdiehards.com, Lobb's quarterbacks and rookies, quarterbacks and running back, the rookie pieces are up right now. He's working on the wide receivers. They will be up very soon. Okay, so Emil Cadlick, Stephon Diggs, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, Terry McLaurin, Dalton Schultz, Cam Akers, Christian Watson. How do we feel about Watson if there is no Aaron Rodgers? How do we feel about him if there is? Brian Robinson Jr., Ron Rivera wants to be run heavier. We'll see if his offensive coordinator, he's talking to coordinators who maybe don't want to go run heavy. Why are you talking to them if you don't want to go run heavy? If you don't want them to go run heavy? I don't know. Darnell Mooney, I think, is going way later than he should in drafts. Jamal Williams, maybe going a little later than he should. I think he'll be back in Detroit, but if he's not, what do we think? Daniel Jones, I'll be drafting some of him. DJ Chark, where will he play? Will he be a Detroit Lion, or will he move on? I think his speed would fit your Dallas Cowboys well, Brian. Fit him well. That would be great. All right, Brad, auto pick team. Not going to get too far into that, but culture coach Dennis Bennett, A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, Breece Hall, Kyle Pitts, Jerry Jeudy, J.K. Dobbins, Brandon Ayuk. I see some values here. Rashad White, Russell Wilson. There we go, Dennis. What are we expecting for Russell Wilson? Full rebound? Rashad Bateman, I think that's perfectly... I think that's worth taking a flyer. And I don't even know if Jackson Smith and Jigba is a flyer here. I think this is a value. Is this a value, Dennis? I think it is. Some interesting picks here. And Trey Lance. Do tell, Dennis. Tell me about your Trey Lance. Tell me about this pick. And I bite kneecaps. Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Javonte Williams, Justin Herbert, David Montgomery, Mike Williams, Christian Kirk, Treylon Burks, Raheem Mostert, Kareem Hunt. Where will Kareem Hunt be playing? Could he be back in Kansas City? Wouldn't that be interesting? David Njoku and Derek Carr. This is a good draft. This is an interesting draft. It's playing out a little differently than ones that I've seen. Nick Chubb went fairly early. Nick Chubb went in round 2, I want to say, or no, early round 3. So you can't see him in the YouTube display, but if you go to the draft board that we put the link up to, if you want to throw that in again in case anyone has missed it, we'll get in there. But he went the second pick of the 3rd round after Ezekiel Elliott, who was auto picked. Oh, the shame, the cone of shame. Oh, we got the draft back in there. Rodgers to Adams part 2, says Brian Wright. We will see that. Dennis Bennett, I think Hanson and Fabiano were talking about Chark to KC. Maybe. How about Chark to Dallas? They need speed, man. I don't think maybe Michael Gallup wasn't quite up there. Cowboys, Bills, and 49ers. D is going before the Eagles. Are the Eagles losing a bunch of edge rushers? No, they aren't. That I know of. Let's see who the Eagles are losing. They did lose their defensive coordinator, though. But I'm kind of with you. I think, look, all those defenses are good. I think the Cowboys and 49ers, I'm probably going to be all in on. The Bills, maybe less so. I'd be in on the Eagles ahead of them. The thumb will be on the scale for Lance. I'm going to tell you, Dennis, from what I've heard from everyone who covers that team daily, is it's Purdy if he's healthy. And it's Purdy if he's healthy because he is an extension of Kyle Shanahan. He does exactly what Kyle Shanahan wants. I don't think they've seen that yet from Trey Lance. But it will be. You're right. It'll be competition. I don't think the thumb will be on the scale for him, though. I think the thumb will be on the scale for Purdy if it's on the scale for anyone. If Purdy's able to practice, right? He's going to get that surgery here very soon. We'll see if it's, they say it's not going to be the full Tommy John surgery. If not, and he's back for the start of training camp, we'll see. It'll be interesting. I mean, they've got the investment in Trey Lance, but they have had investment in other quarterbacks. Jimmy Garoppolo, they didn't honor, right? I think they want to win. They think they have a window open to make it to a Super Bowl. And I think the whole thing that Brock Purdy demonstrated, though, was if you run Kyle Shanahan's offense the way Kyle Shanahan wants it run, they think they're going to be very good. And for most of this season, they were very good. And they didn't lose until Brock Purdy hurt his elbow. So Christian McCaffrey was part of that. But just the way he makes the reads, follows through the progressions, does everything he's supposed to do, I think that's very appealing to Kyle Shanahan because Kyle Shanahan thinks if he was the quarterback or capable of playing the quarterback and running his offense as it should be run, they would be fantastic. I'm projecting a little bit. That's what I think Kyle Shanahan thinks. Yeah, and like neither of us know, Dennis, as you well know. We're and this is the great thing about football, right? In the off season, we love players, we don't love players. I haven't fallen in love with players yet. I've been kind of danced around this topic a little bit earlier in the live stream. This is why we draft early. I want to start falling in love with players, not necessarily with players, but their prices. I'm not in love with anyone's price yet. Don't like a damn thing. Right? You're sitting there, I think I'm paying too much, or I'm not paying enough. Jordan Fiegelman made a really good point in Monday night where, he's, especially this early, and it's totally true. I mean, if there's players you love, go ahead, plant your flag, get them early, draft them earlier than you should draft them. Nobody cares. Nobody will remember. We're drafting in February, right? You're trying to get a lay of the land. You're trying to find out the players you love and where they, C.J. Stroud, Ohio State, you see him a lot, don't you, Dennis? Every week. But that's part of this process, and part of that process that goes along with it is understanding where these players are getting drafted and when you can get them, and that's when I start falling in love with them. So I'm not in love with players yet. Like every draft I've done so far, I sit there and I think, man, I wish I hadn't drafted that guy. Oh, am I going to draft? I'm like dissatisfied. Yeah, you're only seeing, that's the thing. So, David, if you go to the link that Football Diehards put up above your comment, you can see the full draft. You'll see it in a different window. It'll open in a different window and you can see the full draft. And we'll work on that. We'll have that fixed up next time. For the next mock draft, we will be in better shape. We've done this before, but not this year. This is the first one this year. We'll get it dialed in. And again, if you're in here in the YouTube chat, if you follow me on Twitter, hit me up with a note. If you're in my DMs, go ahead and DM me that you'd like to be in one of these, and we'll get you in one. Or leave a comment on my timeline, and I'll follow you and get you. And we'll make sure you're in here. I know Scott Kobe, if you're in the chat, we'll get you in as well. Matthew, I know there's a lot of you that want in, and I like to give a chance in a lot of these. This was kind of we're just shaking off the cobwebs here, people. Give us a break. We're going to call it a night pretty soon here, but I want to get in any questions as you look at this draft. Is there anything? Give me a few comments that we can chat about before we call it a night. Anything in the first few rounds that really catches your eye? Any players you think are fantastic values at any point? I mean, I see a lot of really good values in here. There's a lot of players. Tyler Algier, I think, is a great value in round 8. Brian Robinson might be. Darnell Mooney in round 9. George Pickens in round 9. Allen Robinson, we'll see. Jahan Dotson, I think, is a great value in round 10. Round 11. Who really floats my boat in round 11? Nobody gets me too excited in round 11. I'll be honest. Round 12. Maybe Chark. Maybe Ertz if he comes back. I like all the quarterbacks that win that range, including the Trey Lance. I don't think that's an overpay if you have a hunch, not an overpay at all. Cole Kmet in round 13. Woo. And that was an auto pick. Nobody picked Cole Kmet. We didn't have a lot of tight ends go off before him. That makes sense. Jacoby Myers. Way more productive than people think, right? All right, let's see what some of the comments are here. I follow you, everyone. Yep, I think you do follow me everywhere, Andrea. So I will make sure. I will make a point of giving you. Eric Romoff with his Green Screens Media login. Nice looking draft board. Kirby Barker. Which is your team, Kirby? Let me see if I can figure it out. Which team is yours? What's your screen name in Sleeper, Kirby? Number 1 was auto pick, Scott. Yes, that should have been your spot. I get it. Last pick had to decide between QB 3 or running back 4, and Dennis decided on running back 4, Chuba Hubbard. Maybe the starter. We don't know if Deontay Foreman's going to be back there, right? Slugger 999. I did like your team, Slugger. I thought it was pretty damn good. I love that little run of wide receivers you got in there. The Devontae Smith, Garrett Wilson in round 4, Chris Olave in round 5, Drake London in round 6. Love Trevor Lawrence where you got him. I thought that was great. Jahmyr Gibbs going young. I'm not against you. I'm not going to argue with you, Kirby. I don't know if you killed it, but you kind of did. Nicely done, everyone. Again, we'll be doing more of these. We'll be back. I'll be back on Saturday this week, and we'll kind of maybe take another closer look at this draft and some of the other drafts I've been in and kind of walk through them, see what kind of values we want, what kind of questions you have about these drafts. And then we'll start setting up some more of these on Wednesday nights. If you want to do some on Saturdays, throw it in the comments if it's better for you on Saturday. Again, if you didn't get in this draft and you want to get in on a draft, I know many of you did. I will get you in. We'll make sure you have some early links so you're in for sure. We want to get people in there. I thought Freddie All-Star did good, actually, if memory serves me. So the Freddie All-Star team, I love Cooper Kupp. He's my number 1 wide receiver. I like the Walker Pierce. I think it's a little early on Pierce, but I'm not against it. Lamar Jackson, maybe a little bit not like him, but I like some of the plays after this. Amari Cooper, Darren Waller, maybe a good value here. Cortland Sutton, Deshaun Watson to go with him, Cooper. I mean, if you pick someone beside Jackson and waited on Watson at this point, I might have liked it even more. Vaughn's okay, taking a little chance on the rookies, I'm fine with. Maybe a little early on the kicker and defense, but not going to go against that. Lazard, Penny, Peoples-Jones, great value in round 14, and maybe Claypool in round 15. I like some of those final picks. Scott, what did you think? Third spot had a nice day in the office, says Eric. Heavy metal, that's our friend Brian Wright in the chat with the King Diamond avatar. Justin Jefferson, Travis Etienne. Brian would like to see Travis Etienne get 65 catches, and I think we can all agree on that. Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, Tony Pollard, Miles Sanders, Marquise Brown got auto-picked on that one because he was talking to me instead of drafting. But he wanted Dallas Goedert, but he was happy with Evan Ingram, Eric. Kirk Cousins, that's a great first quarterback waiting that long, given the others that went off. Cowboys, he's a Cowboys fan. Aaron Rodgers, quarterback 2. We'll see where he ends up. Jacoby Myers is a great pick in round 13. Zamir White, we'll see. Sky Moore, Sky Moore, we'll see. I'm not against this. I'm not against this at all. Any other comments? I'm honestly, I'm pretty impressed with this draft. The 2 auto pickers or 3 auto pickers. Damn it, you guys, where were you? We'll fix that next time. We'll make sure we don't have any auto pickers by populating it with some of my YouTube superstars here. I see you, Scott. I see you, Matthew. Do you think Debo could be one of the biggest X factors in drafts? Maybe. I'll tell you what. I would prefer Ross St. Brown to Debo. I would have taken Amon-Ra. But I would have taken a Ramon-Ra around earlier. So what the hell do I know? Maybe a little something. All right. Take a few more minutes here to get your comments. The draft has kind of run out. If there's anything that kind of stands out to you, again, you can't see the full draft board behind me. Sorry about that. We'll have that fixed in the next draft. But you can see it if you hit the link in the chat to Sleeper, the live draft board. Ban auto pickers. It's horrible. You know, there's always going to be people that, you know, either are not really sure what they did or they clicked the link and didn't look at the time. I don't know. What are you going to do? But yes, Kirby. And we appreciate those who did show up. And I would too, St. Brown, when it's for real. There you go. Not showing your hand. I get it, Brian. This was a great draft. I had a good time with this. I hope you all enjoyed it as well. Again, we'll do more of these and have it all set up. Thank you, Andrea, for coming. I'll get you in. Trust that. And we'll get Eric in here at some point too, damn it. There will be no escape, Eric. You know that. Got a little bit of news here. Bucks were to hire Dave Canales as their new offensive coordinator. That's a big name. So sorry to ask. Can't see Chubb. When did he go? He went in the second pick of round 3, which I thought was maybe later than I would have taken. Also went after Ezekiel Elliott, who is on the auto pick team. So, thanks everyone for showing up. Appreciate all the drafters who did draft. Appreciate everyone in the comments having a good chat. We'll do this again. I'll be back Saturday at noon Eastern time. We'll just kind of run through this draft, maybe some of the other drafts I've done, get your thoughts on those, discuss some of the things that we're seeing, maybe some trends that might be helpful to us going forward. So really appreciate everyone showing up. I'm Bob Harris. This is the Football Diehards YouTube channel. Go to footballdiehards.com. Also, Football Diehards radio program again this week. We're winding up the multiple nights a week. So catch us Thursday, Friday at 10 p.m. We'll be on Saturday at 3 p.m. Then we'll be back on Saturdays after that. Wah, wah. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks, Mike, for coming. Appreciate you, man. And everyone have a nice night. Thanks, James. Thanks, David. Appreciate it. We'll have the display worked up next time for you so everyone can see everything.